I personally like to keep my older dogs and my puppies separated for a little while until I have some skills on the puppy for this exact reason.
Right.
You know, our older dogs, for example, they might have been settled into their life, into their old dog life, depending on the age of the dog.
Right.
They might love playing with a puppy. They might not love playing with a puppy.
Yes.
And a lot of the times people expect that dogs are just going to get along right out of the gate and there won't be any issue with them, especially if your dog that is existing in the home is a friendly dog.
Right.
But it's hard on us when we have a puppy that we're trying to play with and those needle teeth are hurting us and we're trying to deal with that. That's hard on us. It's also hard on our other dogs.
Right.
So until I have worked through that nipping and helped my puppy understand that it's not appropriate to do, until I have some skills where I can immediately settle my puppy. And usually these things don't take an overly long period of time. If you are in a training program, if you're diligent, and if you are able to address these things right away. So I will make sure that I can settle my puppy right away. I can call their name and get them to respond. And so first I need to do that by teaching my puppy how to respond to his name. Then I need to proof my puppy responding to his name by adding in all sorts of simple distractions and making them harder and harder, because I can guarantee you one of the hardest distractions for your puppy is going to be being in the middle of play with another dog. But that doesn't mean that they can't respond nicely away from that. It just means we need to give them the benefit of taking the time, teaching the skills, showing them what they need to do, making it rewarding for them, and then we can start to introduce some moderate play with the other dogs. Before I even get to that, I actually spend a lot of time with my older dogs just out, loose, but maybe controlled.
Right.
So for example, they might be on their beds, right? So if I'm in the living room, I'm playing with the puppy, my other dogs are loose in the house so that they can serve as a distraction for my ongoing work with response to name and dealing with nipping and all that stuff. So I'm going to have them lying down calmly on their beds. I might give them something to chew to keep them occupied. So they have some special things to do as well. And now I'm working with the puppy. Right? So I'm across the room, maybe I'm working with the puppy, we're working on skills, sits down, stands, maybe some handling, we're working on response to name, and then I might get closer and closer to the other dogs and make sure that my puppy can respond to me. My puppy can ignore the other dogs and focus on me. Right. They can settle. I can do things like taking the collar and holding the collar while they go, oh yeah, this is great, I love hanging out with you. I can get them to engage and play with me, right? I might pull out a toy and say, okay, let's do some tug. I want my puppy to choose me over the other dogs in the room.
Yes.
And then once we're at that point, then I might give them some supervised time together.
And our older dog is not a babysitter for the puppy.
Yeah.
Our older dog didn't ask for us to bring home a puppy. And if you allow a little puppy to just pester and pester an older dog, that's just not fair. You need to advocate for your older dog.
Yeah.
So, I would, if somebody plunked down a puppy with Honda and the puppy just started going after Honda, Honda right away is going to be like backing away, like, I don't like this. Yeah. And I'm going to step right in. The puppy needs to learn that to read other dogs' body language too. They can't bully and keep at it and get their own way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to step in and say, you know what, this isn't happening. Honda, you're a good boy. That was fine. You don't have to play with the puppy. You don't have to do that at all. And puppy, you can't play with Honda.
Absolutely. I don't want my older dog telling my puppy off.
No,
I don't.
People say, let them work it out. And that's terrible. That is terrible
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. First off, how can I guarantee that my older dog is going to tell my puppy off in a nice enough way that my puppy gets the point and doesn't get overly concerned with it?
Right.
You know, I can't guarantee that. Every dog is going to be a little bit different in that. And there are some dogs that are exceptional at that. And there are some dogs that are horrible at that. You know, they'll overreact and they'll terrify the puppy. And if we've put them in the position where we're letting our puppies push them to that point, that's our fault.
Right.
That totally is on us.
And we're not being leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
The older dog is saying, wow, they're not helping me. I guess I'm in charge of this. And the puppy is saying, free for all. I guess I am in charge.
Plates egg.
Yes. So
steamroller.
It's not good leadership.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's definitely not.
Like, I would not want to start a new job and the new employees all be bouncing and pushing me and running me around, and the boss saying, they'll work it out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my gosh, what world am I in?
Yeah, truly, I want to actively discourage my dogs ever getting into any sort of tussle. I don't want my older dogs, I don't want my puppies, I don't want any of them thinking that they can tell each other off ad nauseum. I'm always going to be the big heavy in the household, I'm watching, I'm supervising, and if something starts to become inappropriate from my perspective, I'm stepping in instantly.
Yes.
Right? This is my job.
Right.
You guys, you get to live the life of Riley. All you have to do is you have to follow the rules. When you're asked to do something, you have to do something, which I incentivize them to do so. We train with all sorts of motivation and fun, and dogs enjoy listening with the way that we train things. But I want to make sure that it's never on them.
Right.
It's never on them to keep the peace in the house. That's my job.
Right. Yes.
Right. I have a blog post that I wrote several years ago called 4 Tools and 2 Rules for Living in a Multi-Dog Household. And basically they're the 4 skills that I insist that I have before my dogs are loose together. And they're the 2 tools that I insist on having as well. And basically, I mean, it's stuff like being able to call their name, and get a response so that I can instantly address any sort of behavior, things like them not being allowed to compete for things. If my dog is on their bed and they've got a bone and another dog wanders up to see them, that other dog gets told, no, you leave that alone. Right. You are not allowed to bug that other dog when they have a bone on their bed. Now, if the dog on the bed with the bone decides to get up and walk off and do their own thing, bone's up for grabs. Hey, by all means. But you're not allowed to compete for things.
Yes.
You're not allowed to compete for my affection, my engagement. You're not allowed to compete for resources. Like, this is just, I shut it down as soon as I see it starting to happen.
Yes.
And quite honestly, like those fairly simple rules that I have outlined in that blog post, and you can find that on McCannDogs.com. I have not had dog fights in my house. I've had like a couple of sort of, I would say the worst that has happened is a couple of loud squabbles. But I have not had any, knock on wood again, any significant dog fights.
Yeah, I had 2 dogs in my 20s that I look back now and realize I just didn't have the dog training knowledge. And they, every once in a while, like throughout their lives, maybe 4 times, they got into a tussle over 10 years. And it's scary. It's scary when 2 dogs fight. And, looking back now, I see the mistakes I made, and I've never repeated them. And I've had very peaceful, very, very peaceful dog households ever since those 2. Yeah. But yes, so definitely you're on top of things. You're the leader and you're watching, and you're going to not let dogs work it out for themselves. You're in charge and you say what the rules are.